There on the other side of our studio, Emma James with Media Watch. Good evening.
Hi there.
Now then, we've had a few days of demonstrations led by people called the Gilets jaunes, which means yellow vests. What's the impact of what they've been doing on social media?
Well, it's an interesting one because really this is a movement that's been born on social media and is certainly being fomented there as well. Some interesting takes though. Chonou, the cartoonist, has come up with this one, the Prime Minister Edouard Philippe, talking to people via the television. He certainly seems to be on the side of the protesters because he has Edouard Philippe waving not a white flag of surrender but a yellow vest. Not quite sure why he's chosen to do that because there doesn't seem to have been much capitulation from the French government so far. They really seem to be sticking to their guns, saying no, we have to tax fuels more heavily, and people just need to accept that, basically. Now, these sizable demonstrations over the weekend did see almost 300,000 people turn out across France. This coming weekend, Saturday the 24th, will be the second episode, as the Huffington Post puts it, and that will be very much concentrated on the French capital, because the idea that the protesters have is that they want to bring Paris to a standstill, because yes, this is a France-wide problem, but they want to make sure that the people in Paris who hold all the power get to realise just how much people care about this. Now, one of those who is behind the creation of this movement, Eric Drouet, who is a truck driver, he's one of the driving forces, if you will, pun intended, he has put this event on Facebook, calling for everyone to turn up at Place de la Concorde at 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. More than 176,000 people have already said that they are interested in going along. We will have to wait and see if those numbers are borne out in reality for this second phase of major protests. It's also interesting to note that although it's not the politicians who really started this movement, they are jumping on the bandwagon in quite a big way. A lot of opposition to Emmanuel Macron. His popularity really down very much in the dumps right now, down at 25%, the lowest it's ever been. So we are seeing a lot of opposition politicians actually speaking out and really kicking a man while he's down, I think it's fair to say. Franck Boulle from Debout la France, which is Stand Up France. It's a right-wing party. He's been posting a lot of videos on social media, being watched by thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people. He is the rallying voice behind all of this. He's saying everyone's got to take part in this invasion of Paris on Saturday, come on foot, on horseback or by car. Paris will be a dead city. Interesting turn of phrase, especially when you look at this cartoon, which really talks about how we have to look at the environmental impact of what we're doing, because this has the protesters complaining about 40 extra centimes at the petrol pump. It's too much. We've had enough, they say. And down below, you have 2 degrees more on the planet in terms of the temperatures, and all we've got left in Paris is just a rat in the middle of the street. So you do have to look at the wider picture with this. It is, yes, it's hitting the little guy in the pocket, but we do have to care about the planet. The other criticism is that obviously the French government is taxing the little guy, but also plenty of people criticising those protesters for effectively only inconveniencing normal people going about their daily routines. This person saying that they should be blocking the town halls, the police HQs, the ministries, blocking people who are just trying to get to work or whatever, will actually turn people against them. It's absurd, he says. This one too saying you're going about this all the wrong way because they've been blocking toll gates. And instead of blocking them, why not force the gates open,
good idea,
says this person, and actually make them free for the drivers. So you're helping the drivers instead of inconveniencing them. Another thing that's interesting to note is there's been a lot of fake news around. Some people, despite the size of these protests, still wanting to exaggerate and spread fake news. This image from Clermont-Ferrand is, well, it looks like a huge crowd.
That's the Place Jaune, isn't it?
It is the Place Jaune. We have been there. Now, you might be forgiven for thinking, yes, this is a yellow vest protest, plenty of yellow, but as you and I know, Clermont-Ferrand play rugby wearing yellow and blue. Now, this image is from 2017 when people crowded in to watch a huge game, the European Cup final in the centre of Clermont. 100,000 people shared this image saying that it came from Saturday, when in actual fact, this is what it looked like on Saturday. This comes from a local journalist, and you'll notice he only got 2 retweets. So that really does show how fake news can spread so much faster than the truth.
Indeed, indeed. And of course, we will follow that story. Next, a Christmas TV advert with a difference, starring someone who found fame because of their Twitter handle. Emma will explain.
Yes, Shakespeare once asked, what's in a name? Well, when it comes to Twitter handles, names are pretty important. As John Lewis, the very popular UK retail store, found out when it was a bit slow to take to Twitter, and it ended up with @JL and Partners, which isn't a very snappy one, it has to be said. Now, this particular store is well known for very elaborate Christmas adverts. This year's no difference. It features Elton John. It's 2 minutes 20 long. It's an epic that's cost in the region of £7 million to produce. However, the man who has the Twitter handle @JohnLewis is inundated with messages every year. It's gone on for years. He always replies to everyone. He has a very, very nice attitude. But now he is the star of his own advert, Twitter actually using him for their festive offering. Take a look.
In the bleak midwinter, frosty tweets made moan. He sat strong as iron, writing like a stone. Snow was falling.
So there you go. And the payoff line from Twitter on this is, this Christmas, join the conversation, even if it's by mistake.
And John Lewis, what a good sport, eh? Thank you. Emma James from Media Watch, thank you very much indeed.